Hey everybody, Aaron here. Welcome back to another anime review. Today we are looking at Takopi's Original Sin, a 6-episode anime series that aired in summer 2025 season. I will say I did a written review for this for Sunset Nerdverse, which I will leave a link to that review in the description box below so you guys can check that out after you watch my video. I feel like I go a little bit more details. There's a little bit more spoilers in the written review than is the video. I'm going to try to do my very best. I mean, I'm telling you guys and girls right now, I've redid this review a few times because it's very easy to spoil the show. There are a lot of things that happen. So I'm not saying there is spoilers in this review, but I'm just saying be prepared that some of the content I'm talking about in my review will possibly spoil some things here and there. I'm gonna avoid very strongly how to say certain things. I want to say what this happens to this character, then what happens to this character, but no promises. This is like, I retried this review a lot of times without doing it, and I don't do scripts, you guys know that. So it's hard, but I will do my best. Try my best. Anyways, Takopi's Original Sin, like I said, was 6 episodes long. It finished airing, I think, maybe a few weeks ago. I want to say, yeah, it was like August 2nd, so the very beginning of this month. So our story follows a young little octopus creature that is called Takopi later on in the story. Its real name is like Nunkif or something like that. I can't even pronounce it. I think that's the whole point of it because it's an alien. It comes from the planet Happy. Now, the Happian race, as they're called, is very different than us Earthlings. They are beings that literally only know how to be happy. That's probably why it's called the Happy Planet. They don't know they don't know war. They don't know how to fight amongst each other. Even when they do, quote unquote, get into fights with one another, they talk it out. They try to, discuss what was wrong, and they just basically spread happiness all around, not even just themselves, but to other bordering planets that need some happiness in them. Takopi's unfortunate role in this is that he gets sent to the planet Earth, where he is supposed to bring happiness to that planet, and let's just say fails miserably. I'm gonna put it this way: this show is gonna be dark when the very first episode doesn't even start with the cutesy anime that you see, because a lot of it looks very cutesy in the beginning. But the very beginning, the very, very beginning, the minute you press play on episode 1, you get a black screen with white dialogue telling you that if you have certain dark thoughts, and there's an actual word for it, but I'm not going to say it to get, to avoid any issues with my video, to probably get demonetized in the process. To avoid, if you have any dark thoughts, call up these helplines and contact these helplines and stuff like that. That's how you know this is not going to be a series that's for the faint of heart. I will say there are some concepts that are in this show that are very relatable to my own life, and it struck some chords with me. I remember when everyone was telling me they were watching the first couple episodes. I watched the first 2 and then I had to stop because there are some things that happen in the first couple episodes that really hits home with me pretty hard as a person. I'll tell you right now, the show deals with bullying. The show deals with child abuse. The show deals with parental abuse. Like I said, dark thoughts. It deals with death. It deals with murder. It deals with so many things on the spectrum of bad that you're almost kind of have to be in a certain mindset when you watch the show. But anyways, let's go back into the kind of synopsis of it. So Takopi goes to Earth and seemingly is basically like homeless for a little while until he runs into Shizuka Kuze, a young girl who you can tell right away is being bullied. I think Shizuku, at least in the beginning of her story, I kind of relate to her because I was very bullied in school. I always told people that. I know her pain when it comes to that, how it kind of just keeps you in a really dark place. She gets bullied relentlessly by this one girl named Marina. Marina is bullying her for what it seems like almost no reason. And I will tell you guys and girls right now, there is not a single person I've met out of like the 30 or 40 people who've seen that I know in my friend group that have seen this anime that have not right away hated Marina. It is so easy to hate Marina because she's someone that just seems like she's just bullying this young poor girl for no reason other than to bully her and just assaulting her and targeting her and causing so much mischief and hurting her. But you start learning things as the series progresses very quickly that Marina is not what you think she is. Shizuka, for example, is not what you think she is. We get a third character, Naoki, who is a young boy, kind of like, I want to say the middle ground between both these characters, and then his story becomes a very prevalent issue and later parts especially. But I'm not gonna really talk about him too much because his story is used very much near the middle part of the show, which is like episode 3, 4, and it's at that point that it really starts colliding things together, and you start realizing why all these characters really are playing off one another. Takopi is trying his best to help Shizuka because he sees that she is being so hurt by Marina, but equally, Takopi doesn't understand why Marina is doing this to her friend, quote unquote. He thinks that there's a way to fix them. He uses items called happy gadgets. Happy gadgets have all these little stupid powers. Like, for example, there's happy wings, which can help you glide if you want to fly around a little bit, which you find later on are like utterly useless. You have like the friendship ribbon, which if you put it on the finger of both people, it makes their friendship collide with one another. You have all these goofy, stupid happy gadgets that he has. But one in particular is where the main series begins, and that is his happy camera. The happy camera takes a picture of some specific scene, and then he can go back in time to that one scene, which he's going to have to use a decent amount at the very beginning. Like, I was almost worried that would be the crutch of the show, is that you're going to be like, oh my god, it's going to be one of those like Steins Gate type shows where, and don't get, I love Steins Gate. Like, Steins Gate's one of my top 10 anime of all time. But I didn't want like it to be just constantly time looping over and over and over again. And that's what it seemed like it was doing in the very first couple episodes, because let's say Shizuka has an issue happen to her very early on, and Takopi was responsible. He tries his best to undo his failings with her. But it's when he starts realizing that there is no like undoing it in the way he thinks he's going to undo it. And even worse is that there's a part later on where he just can't undo what happens. Where, let's just say, people get really hurt, and the characters possibly aren't in the show for a while after that. So we're gonna end the synopsis there because, like I said, this show is very easy to spoil. Like, it was almost, I think, impossible for me to not spoil it in my review, because to really talk about a lot of the meat and potatoes of the show, there are a lot of spoilers. And I want you guys and girls to really watch the show. If first off, I want to preface this: only watch this show if you are of strong mindset. I feel like if you're dealing with a lot of stuff in your own personal life, or if you're weak-willed when it comes to a lot of things, this might be a hard show to swallow. There are some really very, very relatable themes in the show for people. I mean, like, I don't go through everything that the show goes. Like when I was bullied in school, I luckily had my parents to fall back on a lot of times. They were my crutch when it comes to a lot of stuff, and when I was younger especially. But, a lot of people don't have that. In this show, especially, a lot of these characters don't have that. Their parents are all sorts of jacked up. We have Marina's mom being completely destroyed because one of the main premises, again, it's not really spoilerish, but it's kind of the premise behind why they hate each other so much, or why Marina hates Shizuka so much, is that Shizuka's mother and father split up early in the show. You don't see it, but they split up. The father went off to Tokyo to live a whole different life, and you find out later on he's an asshole. I'm being honest. I don't usually like to curse, but he is an asshole. And then the mother is now trying to make ends meet. So what she does is she becomes a hostess. And I don't know if you guys girls know what hostess are, but hostess tend to be I don't want to say they work at like bars and stuff like that, but they do usually work at clubs or places like that. They get guys to usually pay their bills and stuff like that, in terms of they make them buy a lot of stuff for them, and also that's how they get money from it. It's like it's not per se shady, because there's plenty of hostess clubs, like in Japan especially, that aren't like that. They're not really per se bad. But there are some that, it seems a little bit questionable. Shizuka's mom is a little questionable in her case, because she starts relying on Marina's father, who is married, mind you, and starts, getting everything paid, food paid, bills paid, etc. And, Marina's father is basically neglecting his whole family for Shizuka's mom. So it becomes a big issue. That's why Marina hates Shizuka so much, because she's like, oh, listen, you're destroying my family. It's not really, like, I always feel bad. It's not Shizuka's fault. It's not her thing. But there are things that will happen at the very tail end of the series that will change everything. You'll learn so many different sides of the story. You will learn that Takopi has not done what you think he's done a few times. Like, this is his not just first couple of thousand times redoing this. He's done other things. And it's a big premise of the show that Takopi has failed on numerous levels to do what he should be doing. But it's not in a bad way. Takopi has a good heart. You can see that he's trying to help this young girl. He's trying to help bring happiness to the people that he's considered his friends. It just comes at a cost, and that's one of the main running things of the show is that everything it does, or and I say he, but it really is like an it. Everything it does is trying to do something that is not possible. I was blown away that this show kept me hooked so hardcore, and when I watched it, I mean, I binged the first couple episodes. Like I said, I stopped for a little while because it hit home for a little bit. I won't even lie. And then once it got, I think it's episode 3, the relatability kind of drops for me in terms of the stuff that happens. It does just not me that was dealing with everything that was happening in the show, so it was a little easy to stomach some of the stuff that was happening. But I will say that this show is an emotional roller coaster ride that I think I haven't seen in a long time in anime. It is probably one of the better shows of 2025 in general, and it's only 6 episodes, mind you. I think any show that can do what this show did in 6 episodes, you get a round of applause. It's just that good. I actually want to read the manga because I want to see the differences. I read some of the manga as of recently. There's some like minor differences here and there, but it's nothing dramatic. It's like just little sequences here and there, some sequences that that are omitted from the anime and they're kind of more focused on the manga. But it's not really big difference. Like most of it's pretty touch and point with everything. Takopi's Original Sin, story-wise, is incredible. It's I'll be honest, 10 out of 10. It's perfect. I have no issues with it. I will say, you know what? If anything, maybe the ending I'll have issues with, and that's why. Even though I still think it's a perfect show. Like I really love Takopi's Original Sin. I really think it's just phenomenal. The ending's a little too, I want to say, clean, if that makes sense. It's convenient. Is a probably better way of putting it. There are things that happen in it that just seem almost too perfect. Even then, though, the story I think is really good. It hits all the notes that it needs to emotionally. It makes you think. It makes it very relatable. I think that certain people will understand certain characters more because of their struggles, and maybe will kind of impose themselves on these characters and go, I deal with that, or I've known that that struggle, or maybe knows a friend that's done that struggle. So there's a lot of relatability with this show. That's why I think it's really good. Animation-wise, Takopi's Original Sin animation is amazing. I will say there's some minor things here and there that I was like, this is okay, this doesn't look that great. But 9 times out of 10, the emotions that are shown that are on these characters' faces, their tears, the way their faces contort when something happens, the kind of almost sinister things that do happen to their thoughts, it's because it's animated so well that makes that scene even more impactful. And it's very, 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 very rare that I feel like a show that uses such cutesy, kind of adorable animation at times can pull this off so well because it knows when to kind of turn the cuteness dial down and focus on just surreal imagery. You have characters that like their eyes will widen to the point that it's just unnatural. You will have characters like that almost scream without screaming. It's just phenomenal. I loved it. And then I want to say, because the show is so short, I almost thought that would be a detriment to it because I'm like, oh, you're not going to be able to flesh out characters. There's not going to be enough story to really go around for only 6 episodes. I will say I was surprised. Again, I think that's probably one of the biggest words of the day with the show. Surprised. That there's so much character growth and development in a show that's only 6 episodes. That there are shows that are 20 to 25 episodes that cannot capture that same element correctly, if that makes sense. And yet here we are with a 6-episode anime that just hits every note. Characters feel like they actually are advancing. Characters feel like they're going through arcs and problems and situations with solutions at the end result of it. I will say, I 100% recommend Takopi's Original Sin. I think it's like I said, one of the better shows of 2025, hands down, without a doubt. Again, I think you have to be in a certain mindset when you go into watching this. If you are someone that is dealing with a lot mentally or dealing with a lot on your plate in general, maybe avoid the show for a little while and go back to when you're a little bit more sound of mind, because there are some, like I said, very questionable things that happen, and they might strike chords in you that you don't want to be struck with right now at that moment. So go into it kind of with that thought process of, be careful with it. But here's the thing. If I had to review Takopi's Original Sin between A and F, hands down, it gets an A+. It's just that good. It's this close to perfection. It's just like there's minor things here and there, like the endings could be a little better, And there's animation things that I have issues with here and there, but it's very, very little. Like I want to say nitpicky things. So I think it's almost like a perfect score. Almost. Really. But anyways, guys and girls, if you have seen this anime, let me know in the comments what you thought about it, and share with others. Tell them what you think about it too as well. Guys and girls, as always, I am so glad that I was able to bring you a review today. I know it's been like very on and off of me review-wise. I try. Life is, life. But anyways, I love you all. God bless you all. Until I pass across again, the next review. Have a great one, everyone. Bye-bye.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb.